Welcome to Five or Flop, a podcast for the best and worst historical fiction has to offer. I'm your host, Grace.
And I'm Erin, and each week we'll be reading a different historical fiction book or play to see if they're a five or a flop. And Grace, welcome back for season 5.
I can't believe we're here to season 5 of Five or Flop.
Honestly, it's going to be an iconic season for many reasons. I'm a little proud of us for making it to 5,
Yeah.
Still probably having the same number of listeners, but that's okay. And would you like to share with our audience the theme?
I would love to share with our audience the theme. This season is family and friends. Each episode, we are reading a book or play, as Erin hinted, picked by someone in our lives. Some of the time, we will have them join us, such as this week, where, Erin, you should intro our guest.
Yes, I am very pleased to welcome our first guest of this season, who is my cousin. Elizabeth, want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello. Yes, as Erin said, my name is Elizabeth. I am Erin's cousin, and I'm so excited to be here for the start of season 5 with my recommendation.
And would you like to share what we're reading and why you picked this for us?
Yes, of course. So, for the kickoff of season 5 of Five or Flop, I recommended the play The Revolutionists by Lauren Gunderson. The full title is The Revolutionists, a comedy, a quartet, a revolutionary dream fugue, a true story.
A revolutionary dream fugue.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I love a pretentious subtitle, so we are off to a good start.
Oh, yeah.
Good start. And I would say there is an extra special reason Elizabeth picked this one. Would you like to share?
Of course. So I am proud to work at Gamut Theater Group, located in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, not too far from the co-hosts of the pod.
Yes, we did. The pod does know we took our trip to Harrisburg last
Our
season.
loyal listeners of season 4 heard about it just a little bit.
Amazing. So yes, Gamut Theater Group is kicking off our season 33 with The Revolutionists. We open in October 4th through the 19th. So I will actually be a part of this amazing show, which features 4 strong women, and our production is an all-female cast, as well as an all-female creative and design team. Start our season.
One quick disclaimer I should have gave at the beginning of this episode: because we are filming with so many co-hosts, clearly we'll be filming very out of order. So this episode will actually be out after October 4th. So the play is ongoing. And if you are near the Harrisburg area, we highly encourage you to go see it before it closes.
Yes. And once we get into the synopsis, Elizabeth, maybe you can get into a little bit more detail about specifically what you are doing for the show.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Okay.
So before we get started, what's going on with everyone? Knowing that at the time of filming, it is still summertime and not yet October.
Everyone has a little bit of travel written in the document of some sort.
Grace, you want to kick us off?
Sure. I'm headed this weekend to beautiful Charlottesville, where I went to college. I'm meeting up with a friend. We're going to see a concert. And
What
then,
concert?
don't worry, I'll be back. Okay, it's kind of embarrassing. So
No answer is too embarrassing.
we're going to the Disney Descendants / Zombies World Tour.
Amazing.
Elizabeth and I would 100% go to that. So you're talking to the right audience.
Absolutely.
I have actually just finished, and in fact, not finished because I have like 5 minutes left and I paused it so we could record, of watching Zombies, because actually I only am a Descendants girl. I have not seen Zombies, and not to be a hater, it's way worse.
I like the Descendants. That was a COVID binge watch for me one time when I was living at home. I was like, time to watch every single one of these.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 4 of those movies. The 4th one is significantly worse than the other 3.
Yeah.
And Zombies isn't good either. And there's also 4 of those. So I have no idea what the 4th Zombies is like.
But Seth from Twilight is in them.
And we stan.
We do. We do.
Erin, what about you? Where are you going?
Yeah, so we are going to the beach. It is at the time of filming Labor Day weekend, which is, probably several weeks in advance. But we're going to Virginia Beach, which is data scientist Ashley's old stomping grounds.
Whoop.
So staying up there for the long weekend. Actually, Hannah and Jen are coming up Saturday through Monday, so they're doing a beach weekend as well.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so we're really excited about it. I know Santiago is really excited to paddleboard. I'm excited to read my books by the beach. So it's going to be a good time. And Elizabeth, what's been new with you?
Oh, yeah. So last weekend, I had some friends from college come and visit and stay here for the weekend. Shout out Adam and Chris. We had so much fun at Hershey Park. And this coming up weekend, like Erin said, it's Labor Day weekend. So I am driving my car up to Rochester to visit my boyfriend
Very
and
nice.
his family.
Do y'all have any fun plans?
We might go to Six Flags Darien Lake because I love
Okay.
a good amusement park.
Clearly.
And just hang out with some of his friends.
Nice.
Well, that'll
Yeah.
be a lot of fun. Hopefully, you'll be having nice weather as well. I know we will be in Virginia, so that'll be
Oh, yeah.
really, really good.
Fingers crossed for sure.
Well, and while you're up there visiting your boyfriend in Rochester, are you going to bring a book with you?
Oh, yes, I am. I'm
Where are you
actually
going
going to bring 2 books with me
Oh.
because I am trying to be ambitious and dual read right now. So I usually like to have like one big book and then like a smaller book or like a play that I also do to like palate cleanse from time to time.
That is
So
a great
I will be
tip.
bringing Words of Radiance, which is book 2 in the Stormlight Archive series. It's very high fantasy, think Lord of the Rings. So that is
everything I hate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is a brick. It is everything Erin hates. It is everything Elizabeth loves. And that's why we work well together. But I will also be packing with me a classic that I have actually never read fully, which is The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. I mean, if you know me, I work in a
thing.
I have to read it. So,
Grace, have you read that one?
No, but actually, I think data scientist Ashley has. So, if we have her on later this season, which we aren't promising, we
Big
can ask her
if,
about
but we have had her on 2 seasons previously. So,
Erin, what are you reading?
I'm embarrassed because I've spent so long on this podcast bashing romance books, particularly those of which with a cartoon cover. And I've just finished my 3rd one and I am enchanted. So I think maybe I talked about some point how I was reading The Flat Share and I really liked it, which was a different author. But I've just read 2 by Sophie Cousins. Have you read her? Grace, I gave you one of her.
No, yeah, I have the one that you gave me, but I haven't read any of her books before.
I don't remember the name of that. It was like, Is She Really Going Out With Him or something like that. And the one I just finished was an audiobook called Just Haven't Met You Yet. I've had to go extensively into the office this week, so this book has like really carried me on my very long commutes. And I'm embarrassed to say I really liked it, and maybe I am branching out in what I read. So I'm kind of proud
honestly, if you're going to read romance novels, there is no better time than summer when it's been the weather that we have been having. It will spark joy in your heart.
And you know what I think the difference is, and I don't know if it's just like happened to be these 3 that I've read, but all 3 of the ones I've read recently and really liked have all been set in the UK, in England. So I'm like, maybe I just find that enchanting. 2 of them were audiobooks. They had accents going on. I don't know. But I'm very surprised, and I might be eating a lot of my words from previous seasons, but we'll see if that continues.
Wow. Okay.
And Grace, anything for you? Doesn't seem like anything on your agenda.
I've been having kind of a bad time. So, Elizabeth, this might be new information to you, but Erin, you know that I was reading that series of gay hockey romance novels.
Of course.
I have wrought wrath upon my head because I finished them. I don't have any more. And since then, I have been like, I've had the worst reading luck in the world. I had like an 8-day span where I think I DNF'd like 5 books.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't DNF books like that often. I read a nonfiction book about submersibles that I was so excited to read because I like submersibles, and it was terrible and it was bad. So I think I'm crawling my way out. The start of pod season is always good because
you are forced.
One, I have to read, but it makes me read books that like I often wouldn't have otherwise. And normally I like most of them. Season 4 maybe was not an indicator of that, but I'm finishing up I just finished up a little romance that I was like, it was okay. But again, like it's summer, I can kind of forgive a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that next episode that we film, I have more positive news to report.
Well, if you read that Sophie Cousins book, I would really like to discuss that with you.
I should have it as like a break in case of emergency. Like I should
it's
behind
quick.
glass.
It's quick too.
Okay.
And what I learned with this book, I kind of don't expect you to read the one I just read, either of you. But I was texting Grace. I thought the twist was, it was like kind of a quasi love triangle but it was like very clear who she was going to pick. But I thought the second one was going to wind up being a long lost brother or cousin, and it was not. And I was very surprised. They were really building up for that.
Okay.
So I was kind of more disappointed because I'm like, my expectations were so ready for that. It was going to be a really funny reveal in my head.
Well, now you have to write your own book.
I know, exactly. I'll write you a new gay hockey romance.
Please.
Oh my God.
One of the books that I DNF'd, I attempted to read a straight hockey romance. I'm not going to do that again.
Oh, no.
It's not for straight people.
Shall we get into the synopsis of The Revolutionists?
Yes, I think this is, well, first of all, I just want to say it's very exciting. We haven't done any plays before on the pod. So whenever we can tiptoe into a new genre, I'm always super happy about that. And this is also a play that I was not familiar with.
Where you may not work in theater, but Grace and I do enjoy theater. So
you're very star enjoyers.
All right. As I said before we started recording, you will have to pardon my pronunciation. I have not taken French since my sophomore year of college, which was now quite a long time ago. The Revolutionists is a play about 4 very real women, which I have a bone to pick about that, now knowing what I know, who lived boldly in France during the French Revolution's reign of terror. Playwright Olympe de Joux, assassin Charlotte Corday, former queen and fan of ribbons Marie Antoinette, and Haitian rebel Marianne Angel hang out, murder Marat, lose their heads, and try to beat back the extremist insanity in the Paris of 1793. What was a hopeful revolution for the people is now sinking into hyper-violent, hypercritical mayor rhetoric. However, will modern audiences really, get it, breaking the fourth wall. This grand and dream-tweaked comedy is about violence and legacy, art and activism, feminism and terrorism, compatriots and chosen sisters, and how we actually go about changing the world. It's a true story, or a total fiction, or a play about a play, or a raucous resurrection that ends in a song and a scaffold.
Okay. I think now, before we go on to our author bio, this is a great chance for Elizabeth to maybe tell us what your part in this play is, and also maybe give us a rundown on some pronunciations.
Oh, I got you. I got you.
That was not it.
You know what? It was not as bad as you probably thought. So the 4 main characters in this play, as Erin tried to pronounce them, was the playwright Olympe de Gouges, the assassin Charlotte Corday. I should know how to say that because, hey, that's the character I'm playing in this production. So yes, I am assassin Charlotte Corday, the former queen and fan of ribbons Marie Antoinette, and the Haitian rebel Marianne Angel. So they are 4, as these 2 have a bone to pick, they are 4 commonly labeled badass women in this show. Yeah, besides that, like Erin said, it talks a lot about the French Revolution, the murder of Marat by Charlotte Corday, and how each of these women live and die eventually.
And as, maybe not right now, but as we get on in our conversation, and I know at the time of recording, you're still in the rehearsal stages, but I would love to hear, without giving too much away, like how your set is going to look for this. Because I'm curious. So
because the play says in the beginning, quick scene changes are really necessary here. So that might require a minimalist kind of staging.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So let's put a pin in that. Let's get back to it. Let's talk about Lauren Gunderson.
Please.
So Lauren Gunderson is a playwright, screenwriter, and short story author from Atlanta and currently lives in San Francisco. She got her BA in English and Creative Writing, like me, from Emory University, not like me, and her MFA in Dramatic Writing from Tisch, NYU. She's one of the most produced playwrights in America, according to the American Theater Magazine, since 2015, and she topped that list twice, or I think she topped the list 3 times, but 2 back-to-back in 2022 and 2023, which is very impressive. She has written a bunch of other stuff, but one I thought was really notable, at least in my world. She was one of the book writers for the musical version of The Time Traveler's Wife.
I did not know there was a musical version of The Time Traveler's Wife.
Surprise.
Fun fact about The Time Traveler's Wife. I read that book. It wasn't like super scandalous, but I read it probably a little younger than I should have. And the only thing I vividly remember 2 things. It was not a good book. And there was a line that said, if Cunnilingus was in the Olympics, he would have won a gold medal. And I have thought about that probably once a month since I've read that book. So take with that what you will. I really hope that did not make it into the play.
I was just going to say that's probably the title of a song.
That would be incredible. That would be, they should do that one at the Tonys. Anyways, so she is currently on the board of the Playwrights Foundation. And also, she has lovely pink dyed hair that matches her pink glasses, at least according to whatever the pictures on her website were taken.
Oh,
so very, very accomplished playwright to be kicking off the season with. Have anyone, aside from my experience with The Time Traveler's Wife, and aside from Elizabeth's experience being in this production, has anyone read anything else by Lauren Gunderson? Seen anything else? Seen any shows by her?
Lauren Gunderson, I mean, I know this from my theater world, but one of her more common plays that the theater community might know is a play called I and You. It's a very interesting play that typically only involves like a couple of actors, but it is very recently being developed into a musical that is premiering in New York, I believe, very soon. So something for the more modern audiences to keep a lookout for.
Grace, our third New York trip pending?
Another bonus episode where we just have to see a show in New York.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you just have
crazy?
to.
We didn't even do a bonus episode on Cats, and we really should have.
You should have.
Well, here's the thing. Like, that would be such a stretch, even for us. And we already stretched the rules to make stuff fit for this podcast.
We stretched the rules. I would say even to an extent, I think this play was a stretch. But I will say, I do have exposure to this show previously. And by previously, I mean this week, when I found a recorded stage reading of it from Bethany College in 2021. So it's like full COVID masks and everything.
Oh, wow.
And I fully intended to finish it before recording. However, I was watching it with Santiago, which, mistake number one, he is not the audience.
No.
He also was not familiar with the concept of like stage readings or like a table read type of thing. And they were in costumes, but they were all standing. And he was like, what do you mean they don't move around at all? They're just going to stay there. And he just kept saying that. I'm like, we got to shut it off. I'm like, I can't do this. So I watched like the first, like, I think it was until about Marie Antoinette was introduced. And then so it did not make it far. And then we shut it off. However, you know, being with the limitations of COVID and all of that, they were doing a lovely job. So that is my exposure.
I don't have any familiarity with Lauren Gunderson. When you said that bit about her being the most produced playwright, I took a quick hop over to her Wikipedia page, and basically nothing on it is familiar to me. She has a bunch of plays that her titles imply that they're inspired by Pride and Prejudice, so like I at least can recognize that. Maybe I've heard of Exit Pursued by Bear, but I might just know that line from Shakespeare.
That's from Shakespeare.
Yeah, so I don't even know if it's related, if what I know is from this play or not. But yeah, so excited to have an introduction to someone new for our premiere pod episode.
It's rare that it's an introduction for you. I feel like you typically know more of the authors than I do. So not that I knew Lauren Gunderson before this. It's an introduction for us both. But just saying. All right, let's head into our disclaimer, which is our judgments come based on the book/play and characters within the book/play rather than any real historical figures they may have been based on. In this case, it is, applicable. We do have real historical figures. And of course, spoilers ahead.
Where should we start? We have a lot of thoughts.
Should we start just kind of like an overview of like what's kind of happening here? Because it's just from the synopsis, it seems like four like just kind of disjointed women who lived at the same time. Elizabeth, would you like to give us just kind of like a fairly high level concept of what is happening?
Yes. So these four women did not meet in real life, but Lauren Gunderson plays with this idea of what if they did. So the play opens with our main character of the four. The story really focuses on Olympe and the idea that she wants to write something meaningful for this revolution that will change history, leave her mark in this very tumultuous time. As she is talking, more of these characters, more of these women enter the room. So Marianne comes in first, and you see this relationship with the two women that they've established. And then Charlotte Corday comes busting in there with her very dedicated desire to murder Marat. And then Marie Antoinette, the face of the French Revolution, let them eat cake, enters the room. So these four women that have never met each other, they meet. And they each kind of leave their mark on Olympe, and they converse about their feelings about what's going on, how each one of them wants to leave their mark on history. In Charlotte's case, it's murder Marat. In Marianne, she's very focused on the Haitian Revolution and writing pamphlets to make sure that part of the story is told as well. And Marie Antoinette is here for a rewrite. She's like, this is not working out for me. I am here to, get back to being queen, and so that I can have my ribbons and be seen as the woman and the mother that I am. So that's how this play kind of starts. And from there, we follow these 4 women to their ends and see how much of their stories actually do last and live on throughout history.
Yes. And I think sometimes I pull out quotes and I want to say one that's, I think, applicable to how you just summed that up and seeing how their stories last throughout history. There was one quote that really stood out to me, which was, "I fear we shall not know the rightness of our revolutions, nor the heroes of our stories for generations to come." Mm-hmm. And I think that's sort of the thesis statement of the play.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's not plotless per se. There are plot points, mainly guillotine related.
Yes, very guillotine related.
More, well, I call it like I see it. But it is much more of a philosophical, musing, talking, thinking type of production.
100%. I would say in terms of timeline of events, of course, Gunderson takes some liberties and if you were to reflect on what happened historically in the timeline, but it follows very much so the first scene is these 4 women meeting in a room. Second scene is each of them spotlighted doing the tasks that they said they would. Spoiler alert for history, Charlotte Corday kills Marat in the bathtub. You may see the painting about it. Olympe gives her her declaration at the National Assembly. And from there, Marianne and Marie Antoinette are witnesses to Olympe's almost unraveling at that point because it was not taken well. They are witnesses to Charlotte's execution, to Marie Antoinette's execution, and how each of these women are dealing with how successful or unsuccessful their plans are. Absolutely. So there are very much plot points and major events that happen.
So much of that is steeped in real history. Like you were saying, in real life, Olympe de Gouges did deliver the Declaration of the Rights of Women. In real life, Charlotte Corday assassinated Marat. In real life, Marie Antoinette was arrested and beheaded. So I was familiar with all 3 of those historical figures before this play. Marianne, however, I was not familiar with, and I was briefly very excited to go to Google and learn about this woman who was a spy for the Haitian Revolution. And it turns out she is completely fictional.
You know what? I didn't know that until I did the historical accuracy research, because I thought she was a very compelling character. And I'm like, oh, she's got to be rooted in something. So
she's so great, but she's completely made up.
So let's talk about that. Elizabeth, I know you have some thoughts to share there.
Oh, yeah. So I would personally like to give props to Gunderson for writing this character with such depth and nuance that all of the 3 other women have Wikipedia articles and Google and much more historical research to ground them in. And Marianne was a character created from a group of people during the French Revolution. The Haitian Revolution was also happening. Taking this more personally, my roommate, Waymi Montero Candelario, is actually playing Marianne Angel in our production. This is something she's had to grapple with every single rehearsal, is being the only fictional character among 3 historical women.
I've never acted in anything, so I could be speaking out of nowhere. But just trying to mentally prepare for your character, it's a very different experience, I would believe, to have a character that you're playing Charlotte, you can look her up, you can learn about her, versus being that single only fiction.
Oh yeah, 100%. And while her character, not to quote the show, her character may be fiction, she's not fake. She sent me some thoughts of her own, and she said, "I think the character of Marianne, being the only fictional character, really speaks on the fact that her people's stories weren't written down. She says that explicitly in the show to Olympe, because no one writes me down. And if they were, they weren't as detailed as Marie Antoinette or Charlotte or Olympe. So having a character that not only represents that, but also an entire nation, an entire revolution, and those women that were working hard to make things happen was very important to her." La Marianne also is, if you look this up and Google this, it is the symbol for France of liberté, égalité, and fraternité. It's the female personification of it. She's seen in a lot of paintings as a white woman. She also represents the motherhood of the country. Marianne Angel in the play is a mother. So these very extremely powerful ties to the name speak to how many nations were built off of the backs of slaves or women whose stories were not told because they were of color. So those were her thoughts on it.
Well, I appreciate her sharing those thoughts with you and therefore with us. Thank you, Amy. That was very excellent and a very intimate perspective that probably Grace and I wouldn't have just as readers of the play.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I loved the character of Marianne. It's possible that because she was fictional, Lauren Gunderson could kind of use her in different ways since she wasn't so tied to a canon. But I felt like she spoke the most like a normal person. She did not have to be Flanderized at all from any of her real life attributes because there aren't any. And I think that her addition to the story is a really necessary one. I think it's not a complete story if you're not tying in the Haitian Revolution in this time period. I do wish that her addition had been a little bit more complete in that I wish the other characters, or maybe even just Olympe, because she's kind of the quote unquote main character, had more to say about the Haitian Revolution, because it does seem like Marianne is the only one who is saying those things out loud repeatedly. And I know that's not quite the point. I know that each character kind of has their own slot that they fit in and their own issue that they focus on. Like, especially Charlotte might be the most one-track minded of all the characters. But I thought that it was a great addition, and her character's purpose could have been taken a step further for me.
Yeah, and I think you summed that up really well in your notes in our outline, Grace, where you said this is still white feminist in a way that Marianne didn't exactly fix.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is in part, a product of the other characters chosen to be in the play, whether for better or worse, they were all selected. But I agree with you. Like, I think realistically, I don't know. They probably wouldn't have had, these real life women probably wouldn't have had more to say about the Haitian Revolution.
Yeah.
Except let's talk about Olympe a little bit. Let's pin that for historical accuracy, because she might have in real life. So,
well, and then there's also just the element of clearly some element of historical accuracy has been thrown out the window in a very deliberate manner, just based on the premise of all of these four women are in a room together. Yeah. Like in real life, there's no way that Charlotte Corday and Marie Antoinette would ever have been in a room together. That would just be crazy. So this is speaking not only to the mores of the time period, but also to a modern audience. And we know that because of the synopsis, doing a little wink wink to us.
Yes. So, and also just like immediately within the first page, just like how the characters are speaking to one another. It's like very 2016 in my head.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you can tell.
I don't know when this was written, but it felt very 2016.
So I do think there would have been room for discussions of race to be interpolated a little more into the narrative. Like Olympe, obviously in real life, because she wrote Declaration of the Rights of Woman, she is just focused on a feminist issue, and her social class in France would have been white at that time. Because this is a play, because of the liberties taken, because Lauren Gunderson has made Marianne a friend of hers, then I hoped for maybe a teeny bit more in that respect.
Do you want to segue into talking about the other characters in this, and also going back to what Elizabeth called out of us noting that they were all described as badass?
Yes.
Yeah. So this
no hate to Lauren. Didn't like
hate to Lauren. But and I don't know what part of like a play this is considered, but it's the part at the beginning where they're listing out all the characters and describing the characters. And
I also, real quick, yes. I just want to note there's no other characters in this play. We're not just talking about like the main characters, just so that everyone at home understands it's just these four characters and there's no one else in the play.
At one point, I think there's one character who like puts on a mask to be the executioner, but it is just like there are four cast members in this. So let's talk about them. So in that section where they're all described as badass, I don't love that.
Well, especially by the time Marie Antoinette being described as not so badass, it's like, then think of another word that she is.
I know. A badass is just like,
it's kind of a flattening word.
Marianne is a perfect example. I would have so many other more holistic words to describe her as.
Yeah.
Than badass.
Yeah, 100%. I could see what Lauren was going with. Hey, these characters are a little bit not as passive, might be the better way to say it, but I wouldn't say it about all four of them. But yeah, overuse of badass.
And I guess to her credit, this play came out in like 2015, right? So
Yeah.
very much peak girl boss era. I can't say I wasn't calling characters from Sherlock badass on Tumblr in 2015.
2018.
But 2018. Okay, that's a little late for that then.
So, and I also took issue with the Marie Antoinette one a little bit after finishing the play. Because I find like a lot of, and it's interesting because 2 seasons ago, we read the Royal Diaries, Marie Antoinette. So we do have a point of comparison of how Marie Antoinette is depicted.
That is true.
But I think in a lot of just generic pop culture depictions, she is like really portrayed as passive, as really airheaded, not much going on, just kind of dragged along, spending money, ooh, shiny things. And at first, you kind of get that impression of Marie Antoinette, which is very intentional in this play, and I do like that. But she does grow to have a lot of depth and intelligence. And I believe she's the one whose line was that quote I shared about like not knowing who our heroes are in history.
Yep, that was her.
Yeah. So I think that description of her as like not as badass really does her a disservice to how the character is written. And I think that's a strong point of this play is that it kind of goes against that average interpretation of her because like, honestly, of course, I'm reflecting back on the Royal Diaries we read, but she was like a kid when she was married off and put in this situation away from her entire family. And of course, that doesn't excuse a lot of her behaviors, especially closer to the revolution. But that's not her entire life. That's not the entire story. And I do think that this play does a good job going beyond that. But it was a big disservice to me at the beginning. And it kind of left a taste in my mouth that I had a hard time getting rid of like, oh, this is just going to be another one of like, she's not as girl boss as the others. So it didn't set me up well. However, I think it turned out well with Marie Antoinette's character for me.
I think Marie Antoinette's character is one of the most interesting in this play because it's hard to figure out how she fits in as relating to the other women who are all revolutionaries, and she is very much not. And you can tell they're trying to make her understand their point of view. And it's interesting to me, it's up for interpretation, I think, kind of how far she gets there. Like, she definitely internalizes some of that lesson. She does get beheaded. So obviously, like, it's not a complete, not a complete transformation. But
she tried her best.
She did her best in what little time that she had. Yeah. I grapple with whether or not I feel like it was a successful introduction to her. If it was not to Marie Antoinette, the real figure, but if it was a successful attempt to convince me as an audience member that Marie Antoinette would have or could have been able to learn better, or maybe it's not about Marie Antoinette at all and she's just a symbol for people in our modern times. I'm not sure. It's kind of like Fruit of the Drunken Tree. Like, in my heart, I don't feel settled with where the symbolism falls. I do think it's there and it's very purposeful. And maybe if I saw your physical production, I would be able to suss it out better than just reading it on the page. That was one of the things where I feel like Lauren Gunderson was really trying to do something very purposefully, but I can't put my finger on quite what.
That reminded me to like not disclaim something, but add something towards when you were saying your disclaimer, which is any thoughts that I have towards this production, I am trying to very strictly take from the text itself, because like most plays, even as someone that reads a ton of plays, my interpretation of the text changes drastically when I see it up on its feet, when I know people involved in the production, when I am in the production. So things of that nature. I'm trying to, as Elizabeth, want to make it as textually sound as possible for this podcast.
Yeah, no, and that was exactly the point I was going to make as well. Reading something that is meant to be performed is very different than seeing it as it is intended. I always remember, like, because I was an English major in college, and I just always remember hearing, like, reading Shakespeare and seeing Shakespeare is not the same experience at all. And I think there are things that, like, could a certain actress in Marie Antoinette's role here play it one way and another actress play it another way? Absolutely. And could that still feel different than our experience reading it? 100%. And I think that's what's really powerful about theater as a medium.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Grace. I did like Marie Antoinette and her arc, but it does pose a lot of questions of, does this feel complete?
Yeah, Elizabeth, maybe you'll know what I'm talking about because I didn't write this down, but there's a quote later on in the play, I think from Olympe, where she says Marie like learned better, and I just don't know that I can confirm that I think that she did.
That makes sense.
I don't know if the duration of the play was long enough for me to be convinced of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really, especially, I mean, Olympe says it at the top of the second act, like, okay, things are really going to speed up now. You spend a lot of time with these women right at the beginning before they do any of the actions that they said they would do. But then as soon as that action happens, you don't have as much time to see them process it. And I feel like that was what happened with the character of Maria a lot. She was there for her friends in this play at least, throughout their moments, but you couldn't really see where she was before her execution.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Should we talk about her other two friends in this play? Should we do?
Yeah.
I think we'll save Charlotte for last because that is the character I assume you will.
We have the most insight from you.
So, yeah, that's fair. Olympe, Grace, you have some interesting thoughts here.
Yeah, I don't love her portrayal here. I don't know the most about the real life Olympe de Gouges, but I was familiar with her. And I knew her as the author of the Declaration of the Rights of Woman. And she's kind of annoying. She's like kind of a wimp. And she doesn't like, Marianne has to call her out for being like, fucking do something. Like, this is the solution. Like, be helpful. Don't just be cowering inside trying to be a playwright. And if I was the real Olympe, like watching this from somewhere, I would be like kind of mad. I did all of this stuff for women and this is how they thank me.
What I appreciated about this portrayal, kind of I agree with you. She was kind of like wimpy and annoying, but for me, that worked really well as a differentiator in being a main character when you have all these others that are so focused on like their situation. What I really liked was that it allowed for her kind of breaking point to kind of like hit this wall and kind of crash out a little bit before like figuring out, I need to stand for something. And I assume in this discussion, we're going to want to end on the art versus activism piece. So teeing up for that later. But what I also really liked is she's kind of a parallel to a lot of people you see nowadays. Like, she reminded me very much of like Instagram activists or like Twitter activists who are like a whole bunch of talk, like, I'm going to do all this stuff. And then like nothing happens with it really. I think of like, Grace, you probably know what tweet I'm talking about, where it's like, your plan pales in comparison to my plan, which is to organize a revolution,
Yeah.
And I appreciated that because I thought her character felt realistic and was almost like a mirror to the audience, especially because there are points where it does really like break that fourth wall of like, hey, things are similar across history. So for me, that kind of wimpiness worked really well as a main character.
Interesting. I didn't think of it that way.
No, and that's the fun of having our own interpretations, right?
Exactly.
Erin, I think you put it very nicely that at times Olympe is supposed to be a mirror to the audience, because there are times where Gunderson kind of hints at the idea that the play that we are seeing or reading, in this sense, is the play that Olympe came up with. So that idea of breaking the fourth wall, it gets shattered at the end of the play. So if that is the case, these women coming into Olympe's life are leaving their mark both on Olympe as a person and her work and her text. On paper, what Olympe is saying is very weakened compared to these other women at times. I think at the very end of the play, somebody asks her, what kind of writer are you? And she responds with the really scared kind. This woman that's trying to leave her mark on the revolution and do something and make a change is still really scared at the same time. I kind of find a little bit of peace with that, of being like, you still have this drive and this passion to do something. She still went to the assembly. She still said all of these things. It may not have worked out for her, but she can still have these very real emotions that people in the audience or readers at home can relate to.
Absolutely. Shall we talk Charlotte?
It's time to talk Charlotte.
Charlotte.
It's funny because Charlotte is like, I think in any other conversation, like if we didn't have you on this episode, Elizabeth, I think we probably would have started with her just because she is the most goal-oriented, like easy to discuss from that lens in terms of this play. So let's talk about her. This is really embarrassing. Obviously, I knew Marie Antoinette was a real person. Duh. And like I took all the AP history classes. I did not remember Olympe like at all. So and then I saw Charlotte, and then like I saw the person that she killed, and I was like, sounds like a painting, I think. And then I looked it up, and that's how I realized these were real people in this. So let's talk about our real friend Charlotte.
Well, I'm very interested at first, before I say anything. I want to hear your thoughts on her. Like, what do you see on the page? Like, what struck out to you? Any lines, things like that?
Okay.
What? Oh, do you want to start, Grace?
I was going to say, I have a question that I'll save until the end.
Yeah, I like Charlotte. I had fun with her. I liked the single-minded nature. I like that. Like, she was a woman on a mission. Like, she had one job, and then she did it.
I liked the adaptation of Charlotte as a real-life character the best. I do think, though, that she has the advantage of it's really easy to adapt her from the quote-unquote real Charlotte. She's pretty straightforward. Like, the themes of her life lend themselves well to this kind of symbolism in the play.
Oh, yeah.
I also really liked the idea that kind of her foot in the door is she wants Olympe to write her last words. I think that that's really cool and creative. I liked that as an idea. My question that I have for you, Elizabeth, is what is the purpose or historical root or like literary device or whatever, like the point of them bringing up that Charlotte is in unrequited love?
Oh, yes. Okay. I think that this ties into a lot of things that come up when dealing with Charlotte's character, which is that she, in the society that she is in, cannot do anything without there being some sort of justification, typically assigned to a man. So she talks about this a lot in the jail cell scene, that the guards, upon bringing her to the jail cell, checked her virginity. Not once, actually. Historically, they checked her twice, when she was in the jail cell and after she was beheaded, because they just didn't believe that she could have gone through with it on her own. She must have been working with a man. I personally tie it to the unrequited love. Whether the other women in the room know it or not, they're doing that same thing. They're tying it into, there's got to be like some sort of love interest or something that pushed you to do this, or like the reason that your feelings are like this, that you're so emotional, that you're so dramatic. It's got to be like, because you're in love, right? With all of the research that I've done on Charlotte, I could not find a single thing on a man named Jacques. Can't find a single thing. I'm still actively working towards that. And if I find something, I'm changing gears so quickly. But right now I'm justifying it of like, she can do these things on her own because she wants to do them, not because of any other factor in her life pushing her to do it.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does. And the plot of the virginity check made tons of sense to me. Like, that theme comes across really loud and clear. And I think it's back to one of those things. It would definitely be different seeing it played on stage because, you know, it's a comedy. There's so many different ways to do comedy. And I could imagine like the scenes where the women are like, oh, she's got it bad. And she's like, no, I don't. And all caps, you know, that being played as like, you know, the lady doth protest too much. So interesting to hear how y'all are interpreting it.
Yeah. I go back and forth with it a little bit in rehearsal just because I'm like, I want to see both ways, but Elizabeth processing it is very much, she doesn't need this to be because of a guy in her life. But she's so interesting. And I think, Erin, you were the one that brought up the last words comment. It may have been Erin.
It was Grace, yeah.
Yeah, it was Grace. But those last words that in this play Olympe wrote for Charlotte are the words that she actually said when she got the head chopped off. And I give so much credit to Gunderson where credit is due of incorporating those lines intentionally, because that is what the character said, but also seamlessly, because the lines, the script that Gunderson wrote before that make the historical line make sense for her.
It's funny. This is the second thing we've read where last words are important, because Codename Verity was all about like last words.
Yeah.
So
Well, and she did the same thing with Marie Antoinette. Those are Marie Antoinette's real last words, and they were incorporated really well into this.
Apologizing.
So good job, Lauren.
Good job, Lauren.
I think before we get into historical accuracy, let's talk art versus action. Is art activism, which is more powerful? I don't think there's an easy answer to any of this, but we're going to try to answer it in like 3 minutes.
In so much of this play, there's good and there's bad. There's like good ideas that I think could be tweaked to be even more impactful. But my favorite thing about this play is that theme of what is the importance of art in activism and how directly does art impact the result of activism? Because you're right, there is no easy answer to that question. All we can do is ask it, and especially in an artistic medium, that's an even more powerful question. So I think that conversation is mainly had in text between Marianne and Olympe, and I think those are the characters that are the most well suited to have it, because neither Marie or Charlotte are really that concerned with art as an idea, and both Marianne and Olympe understand the importance of both, but they're both portrayed as a pillar for one or the other. You know, Marianne for direct action, Olympe for art. You see so well illustrated the pros and cons of each stance. And I just think it's by far my favorite part of the play. I think it's done so well. And that's an interesting idea that I'll never get tired of theater discussing, because it's an inexhaustibly interesting topic.
I completely agree. I think it's a fascinating topic. I disagree with the notion that it's one or the other is more powerful. I think in different ways, they both have different impacts. I look at art, and Grace, I think we were just talking about this like on a bonus episode about how like it's so important to be reading, to be absorbing theater right now at a point where it's just like a complete lack of empathy and like care for other people's perspectives in society.
Exactly.
And even if the art you're creating is not necessarily like this play is a political statement. There's a lot of stuff we read on the podcast that has nothing to do with political statements. And yet there are threads that we pull through that we're getting exposed to new people, new perspectives, new cultures. And that is inherently a political statement by becoming more empathetic and caring about other people. So I think it's interesting. I think this is always just something on my mind with especially a historical fiction podcast, because I think history is something that is getting lost more and more frequently. But at the same time, you cannot discount direct action. You cannot discount the Charlottes of the world who are, you know, tangibly making an impact in changing the course of history. You cannot discount things like the National Assembly and even the Declaration of the Rights of Women, like that things that are kind of passed off as like and criticized at the time, as we see in the play, clearly had a direct impact on the course of history.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key takeaways that I have from the art and activism in this play is that, like the characters in the play, one cannot exist without the other. It's not a this versus that or which one is better. It's both of them leave their impacts and their ties on each other. Activism without art, even if you're talking literary, like rhetoric, like the most powerful speeches in the world can become an art form in a way. But if we take away that beauty, that inherent beauty that art has, then it's very easy to lean into violence and activism. While art, on the other hand, is constantly being modified and influenced by what is going on in the world. And any activism or change that is being shown in the world is reflected in its art. Thinking about what is going on right now, like everywhere, history, like Olympe talks about, is a story with a little extra high. It's repeatable and it does repeat. So seeing that and seeing which stories are carried through, like you mentioned, Erin, it's constantly being lost, but that does not diminish its importance. So I take away both of those things from the art versus activism.
I love what you said about you can't have one without the other. Kind of as you were describing, I was thinking of art as kind of like the soul in a lot of way and keeps the action and keeps the activism human.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to go into a whole tangent on AI and people using it in art to make it soulless and take away that humanity. We'll save that for a bonus episode, Grace. We could talk about
But we could.
But we won't do that right now. I actually lied before we get into historical accuracy. Elizabeth, I did want to revisit how your theater is staging this.
Yes. Okay, I'll speak very quickly on this, but I will say we have a fantastic scenic designer, Lynn Porter, who is designing for us. She was really influenced by the importance of words and the stories that we are told and are telling for future generations. So, like you and Grace both hinted at, this set is very minimal. It's only 3 chairs and a table and 2 tables. Sorry. There is a tub cameo. So there is a tub. We do love it. There are guillotines or facades of guillotines. I would love to still keep doing the show every single night. So it's not real. The thing that is most striking to me is that the use of words is heavily impacted. Almost everything in our set is handwritten.
Wow.
With words. So the lines that you see on the guillotine will say blade, 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 sharp, sharp, sharp.
Oh, cute. I like that.
So the idea that words are literally building the world around us and the environment that we are in. Going to be so cool to see when it's actually around me.
Wow. I wish I could be able to make it up for that. I don't think
I know.
Remind me and correct me if I'm wrong. Gambit, you're operating out of like a black box type theater, correct?
It's a main stage theater. We're actually located in an old church. Ooh. So we have stained glass windows and beautiful pew benches.
You are I saw you in Pirates of Penzance.
Yes, you did.
I don't know why I was thinking black box. Yeah. It is not, but
there are a lot of black walls, but yes. It is a semi-thrust stage with staircases. So we have 2 levels. It's gorgeous and very well suited for our show.
Well, that is really exciting. And after we get done with historical accuracy and the other stuff we have to come to cover, we're going to talk about how people can come see and support.
Oh, yeah.
But let's do some historical accuracy.
Woo!
So yeah. I focused this. I didn't want to go into detail on the entire French Revolution because the story is so character focused. So instead of that, I just focus on each of the characters. So Olympe was a French playwright and political activist, best known for her declaration of the rights of women and of the female citizen. She had a big focus on women's rights and abolitionism, which is why I think she, in the show or in the play, could have spoken a bit more about the Haitian Revolution, and I think it would have still been appropriate for her characterization. Some of the issues specifically she focused on were divorce, children's rights, unemployment, and social security. She welcomed the revolution originally, but soon became disenchanted when equal rights were very clearly not being extended to women. And I think we kind of see that mental process happening in the show. A bit more personal history about her. She was briefly married at 17 against her will, had a son, and then her husband died to a destructive flood. So then after that, she changed her name and decided she never wanted to marry again and did not marry again. She was eventually arrested and executed by calling for an end to the bloodshed of the revolution and to establish a decent government. And this was I forget the name of a pamphlet, but in one of the pamphlets she posted. Marianne, as discussed, not a real person, but she was sadly, but she was inspired by the real women who fought and advocated for Haiti's independence during the Haitian Revolution. Now, the Haitian Revolution was going on from about 1791 to about 1804. It was a successful insurrection of self-liberated enslaved Africans against French colonial rule. Slavery was really sustaining sugar production there under incredibly harsh conditions. At least 50% of slaves who came over from Africa died within 1 year from yellow fever alone. So the thought process was basically like, work these people as hard as possible, get our money's worth, and let them die, which is truly atrocious. Grace, I remember specifically reading Chains. It was called out that like in the Caribbean was like, that's where you didn't want to go. It was the worst conditions. And unfortunately, that is not something that was made up. So the Haitian Revolution was deeply influenced by the French Revolution. This was kind of like almost the revolutionary swell period in history because it's also on the tail end of the American Revolution. You just had a lot of focus on liberation and freedom and all of that. But very happily, the Haitian Revolution was successful. I believe it was one of the only successful slave insurrections, if I'm remembering my history correctly. Charlotte Corday, she did assassinate Jean-Paul Marat, as seen in the famous painting of him dead in a bathtub, which I don't actually think she's in the painting. She was a sympathizer to the Girondins. I pronounced that wrong, but it was a modernist faction of the revolutionaries opposed to the more violent factions. She was arrested and guillotined, as seen in the play. She was given a posthumous nickname, L'Ange de l'Assassinat, the Angel of Assassination.
That's a very good nickname.
And her words at
Oh,
her
yeah.
trial were, "I've killed one man to save 100,000," which I think is very, very interesting and correct way to put it in a sense.
Yeah.
Marie Antoinette. Do we really got to go into her when we read the Royal Diaries in season 3?
No.
But she was the last queen of France before the revolution, born in Austria, married over when she was a teenager because her older sisters were sick, died, all of the above, unfortunately. She resisted the revolution, of course, like all monarchs, was executed by guillotine. And that scene in the play, we really didn't talk about her trial, but they accused her of a bunch of different things, including incest with her children. And you get the outrage that was present at the trial in the play, and that's something that's very real. Like, women immediately were like, no, like, we can accuse her of all this other stuff, but this is past. She was a symbol of excess and lavish spending, and as Elizabeth mentioned, her last words were actually apologizing to the executioner for stepping on his foot, which I think really does show a lot about her, her just personality. As I mentioned previously, like, of course, there's a lot to criticize with the excess and the spending, and a lot to criticize about the monarchy in general, of course. But, I think that those last lines just even hint at more depth than is given credit. That's what I got for historical accuracy. Keeping it pretty light today. I knew we'd have a pretty thorough conversation. So
Thank you,
go into our star calculator? And Grace,
I think we should.
We're keeping categories the same this season?
Yeah, I think so.
I am so excited for this.
All right. Well, Elizabeth, if you can't access the star calculator, I will import your information for you.
Hey, that's okay.
So,
definitely can't, but
Grace,
I can request it.
Okay. Well, Grace, if you accept the request quickly, if not, I have my laptop open. Well, while we try to get Elizabeth access, I will share the categories: historical accuracy, originality, characters, prose, and vibes. Elizabeth, how we score this, these are all 1 through 5. You are allowed to put decimal points. Grace might yell at you, though. And then it's all just average for a score out of 5.
Okay.
I think you should be in, Elizabeth.
Grace, you want to kick us off?
And I'm in.
Sure, I will kick off. For historical accuracy, I feel like this is kind of a nebulous zone. This is one of the more challenging ones to interpret based on what is intentionally warped and what is not. I think just because it's so tongue-in-cheek, I can't give it more than 3. So I'm going to give it a 3 because that's all I can do. For originality, I'm actually going to go 5. I think this is a really great idea. I love this setting. I love using these characters specifically to speak to a modern audience. It's very The Crucible to me. So I really like it. For characters, I think I might also go 3 just because I had pros and cons with all of them. There really wasn't one, except honestly probably Charlotte, that I was like, I completely understand what you're doing here, and I support it. So 3 for that. Pros, unfortunately, I'm going to go 2. I think some of the individual lines were not my favorite. I think the polish of the script could have been updated a little bit. I'll note here, so I don't sound super mean, I wrote down my favorite line, which did get a laugh out loud from me, which is Marianne coming to Olympe and saying, "I need you." And Olympe saying, "Playwrights love hearing that. It's so rare." That made me chuckle because it is true. And then vibes, I'm going to stick with a 3 for this. Because again, it challenged me and it made me think, which for this type of play, that is the goal. But I am a little wishy-washy about how confident I feel in it. So that's a 3.2. And I think that's a fine for me. This is in the fine range. It's an intriguing and interesting piece of theater.
I will go next. And I think to frame this, I'm going to say something that I forgot to say in our discussion. In my head, this was kind of like 6. Like, you know how 6 was like all these women who would not be in a room together, but like we're having fun with it. I think historical accuracy, I'm going to go with the 3.5 here because I like where it was intentionally withheld and removed, like, and taken out of that. And I like what was there from it. I think it's good balance. Originality, when did 6 come out? Because this is going to shift things for me.
Good question. I got you.
I think maybe 2016, 2017.
2017.
Okay, so these were close enough. Not that I think she ripped off 6. That's not what I'm trying to say.
No.
But if there was slightly more of a gap, I would have been like, yeah, But they're close enough that like clearly they were being written at like the same time.
Around the same time, yep.
So I will also go 5 for originality. Characters, I'm going to go 3 also. I have no explanation for that. I'm just feeling a 3 there.
Okay.
Prose, I liked it. There were a lot of really good lines in this. So I'm going to counter Grace on that. And I'm going to go 4 because I did enjoy it. And vibes, it's so hard to tell because I wish I had seeing this live as a point of comparison here.
Mm-hmm. True.
I'm just going to go in the middle and go 3 because I liked it, but I would have liked it much better seeing it. So that's a 3.7. That is certified fine for me. I'm also going to give this one a fun because I really enjoyed it. And I think this was a really great conversation. We don't talk about plays. We have not talked about plays on the pod before. I don't really read plays that often. So this was a very fun experience for me. So a fine and a fun.
Oh, yeah. And that was really the goal of recommending it was like, okay, historical accuracy, historical fiction, take as you will, because I understand our target audience here. But I understand the overlap between plays and historical fiction might not be big. And this is hopefully bridging the gap a little bit.
Yes. Oh, it definitely is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. For historical accuracy, I'm going to have to agree with you, Erin, and give it a 3.5. I cannot go higher than a 4, just taking into account Gunderson's choice to put all these women in the same room. But I do give very strong props to the last words that are given to these ladies and so many of the things that they say in this show. Originality, I mean, I'm gonna take this one into account and say, I'm going to say 4.5, just because I am going to take the 6th thing into account and say, hey, there were other things going on during this time.
Also, want to point out, a lot of people say 6 owes a debt to Hamilton, which came out in 2015. So maybe everything is just following the trend of that. Obviously, this play doesn't have any songs, but still.
But what I am taking away from originality, I am going higher for in characters. I am giving my characters a 4 just because of the depth and nuance that Gunderson wrote into Marianne in particular, but all of these women made me care about them a lot more than if I knew nothing about them. And even if I knew a little bit about them, because their narratives changed so drastically in their personalities. So I cared about them more. That's why I give it a 4. Prose. I do love all the good one-liners, and the text makes you really think about the words that are being said. So for that reason, I think I'm going to give it 3.5, and Grace is going to yell at me so much for these.
I've lost that battle. I've been beaten down.
No, actually, okay. I'm going to give it, I'm going to go back on it. I'm going to give Prose a 3 because I think what I am thinking of instead is the vibes, which is what this made me feel like after reading the play, after getting to know these characters, after hearing all these funny one-liners.
And that is the perfect way to put it. Vibes is just kind of what can't be captured elsewhere.
Yeah. And so for me,
I am being greater than the sum of the parts.
I am incredibly biased and making my vibes a 4 because I would say for me, it's a certified fun for sure. It's fun, certified funny, makes me giggle. And I don't care if that's bias. I'm in the show.
I think we knew bringing you on the pod with your specific situation with this play, there was always a level of bias.
We're not asking you to be objective. Yeah.
Almost. Elizabeth, I have a great question for you. Ooh. In school, did you have to read A Land Remembered?
No, I didn't, but I did have to read Number of the Stars.
It's because you went to private school. They didn't make you read it. Okay, well, now we have to get someone else from Florida on this pod who will understand my bias with A Land Remembered.
Oh,
but
goodness.
anyways, until you go and read A Land Remembered and have something to say about that, why don't you tell us about how anyone who is visiting the capital of Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, can come see your show?
Yes, of course. So, like Erin said, we are located right in the heart of Harrisburg, literally across the street from the Capitol building. And you can come see this show by visiting our website, which is gamuttheater.org. Gamut is spelled Gamut, theater with an R-E. Thank you very much.
I was just going to ask.
Our website will take you directly to the ticket page where you can buy your tickets to the Revolutionists. Something really cool about our theater, which I always love to shout out, is that we have a pick your own price system. So we try our best to make theater accessible to everyone. So you can choose between 3 different price tiers for the same exact seats and the same exact experience, just so that we can reach as many people as we can. So gamuttheater.org for those tickets. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook for all of the notifications.
We will be sure to tag. I cannot wait for the full reviews of the show. I think if we all had a good, fun reading experience, I can imagine it will be even better when it's performed how it's supposed to be on stage. Currently, according to our timeline, this episode is set to come out on October 7th. So I believe that still leaves you with over a week to come and see the show.
Yep, you have 2 weekends to come and see the show. If it comes out on October 7th, you have 2 weekends of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday matinee shows.
Amazing. All right. Well, I am very, very jealous that I'm not going to be there for it. So I anxiously await all the reviews and all the pictures that Gamut will be posting.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And Elizabeth, thank you for coming on and being our first guest host of the Friends and Family season. We appreciate it.
We really do.
I am so honored. I had so much fun recording and getting to bring the first play into the podcast. That's super exciting.
And also, likely will be more plays in the future. You've inspired us now.
Yay.
So thank you so much for coming on. We are going to make you hang on for a minute as we do our little ending. Grace, would you like to introduce what we're reading next week? And should we say the guest for next week?
I say we should. Let's have fun with it.
Go for it.
So next week, we are reading a very popular historical fiction author we have not touched yet. We are reading Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid at the recommendation of my book club member and good friend, Kelly. So we will be seeing Kelly next week.
And I'm very excited for this. We have had requests for TJR in the past. There's, I think, been several reasons we have not opted for her. But I'm really excited for this one. I will be listening to the audiobook, so I always have some fun thoughts on our narrators there. In the meantime, make sure you're following us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at @5reflop_pod. And our Season 5 Storygraph Reading Challenge is live as well, so make sure you join in and read all, 18 books and plays we're reading this season.
Ooh. And
not our longest season, but it's up there.
Also, just to remind you all, currently, our Season 4 Storygraph Reading Challenge is our most joined. We have a goal that we should beat that this season. So
and our goal is a whole 10 people joining.
Please, everyone join and do the reading challenge. But if you have any books that you think that we should be reading, you can always fill out the recommendation form that's in the bio of any of our social medias, or you can just send us an email at 5refloppodcast@gmail.com.
And until next time,
happy reading.
bye.